I think what you're seeing is an increasingly desperate presidency. I mean, Mr. Trump's polling is
Let's hear what the ultimate man has to say.
is bad news for him. He's losing
My definition of non-toxic masculinity, okay?
support among the people he needs to have to keep going as the kind of president he has chosen to be. So he's getting desperate, doing all kinds of things that he didn't do before, and that he obviously isn't thinking through. And I'm going to give you some examples because I think it sets a context for them talking about ICE, Minnesota, and so on. So here's some things to think about. Over the last 10 days or so,
Yo, Mr. Wolf, how about like you buy your own shirt, dude? How about you don't take my drip, dude, okay? There can only be one Unk in town, okay? I know you got that famous quote, but you don't have to be coming into my territory like this, dude. Okay? There can only be one relatively formally dressed socialist. God damn it. The battle of the Unks must commence.
has proposed to put a cap on interest
On
rates
his ass.
of 10% for credit cards. For those who don't know, credit cards currently, on average, charge an annual rate of 22.8%, which means
Sheep and wolf clothing. Give this man a subscription right now. That is the only thing you've ever posted. You've been following since like a month ago. The first thing you've ever posted was sheep and wolf clothing. You waited for so long. You waited for so long just to drop that joke. You might be one of my new favorites. That's very good.
that he is proposing to cut the income of the banks who make credit cards available to the public from 22.8% on what they have invested in credit cards to 10%. That is a very nice thing to do for people on credit cards who are people he wants to get to vote for him. And he is letting the business community know that if they want him to continue.
Is Dr. Wolf saying that the masses, usually most unsuccessful inside of a capitalist economy, tend to support said capitalist economy more than anyone else? Is Dr. Wolf saying that the ability to garner class consciousness unfortunately does not have any direct correlation to one's actual financial well-being, but also other types of material conditions? Oh my God, incredible Marxian hot take.
To give them.
Turns out poor person equals good is actually not correct. A poor person with class consciousness equals good is correct. There is a difference. Okay? Always remember, poverty does breed, quote unquote, animals. That is why we must exterminate poverty. We do not like poor people. We hate the fact that they are poor. We don't dislike them because they are poor, of course. But the end goal is to exterminate them as a category of human being. Not physically, of course. I'm not saying let's kill all poor people. I'm saying that they should not exist as a category.
The enormous tax cuts he did in his first presidency and then again in his second, if they want the goodies he can deal out to them, then they have to let him do stuff for the other part of the coalition without which he can't be president. So in a sense, he's saying to them, I have to do enough for the mass of people.
A fascist and a communist meet. They both say, we plan to cut homeless people in half by 2027. They mean completely different things. That's a good joke. That's a good joke. It's not a bad joke.
to keep
It
them
really isn't. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad.
from deserting.
We hit hour 1. Subscribe to the show. Support the show. 0% sponsors. 0% ads. 100% subscriber funded. We have 400 people here. We have 0 Western taxpayers. That is so embarrassing for the wider West. I mean, I know I've been told by my Twitch agent that this is the most international show on Twitch when it comes to our size. So understand there's not a lot of Westerners here. I understand it. But still, 0 out of 400 of you cannot pay their tax, exclamation point tax, if you don't know how much. That is like, I know you're feeling it. You're sitting there. You're like, I don't know. Is he talking about me? Is he talking to me? Yes, I am talking to you. Okay. Every fucking cent you put into the show is an investment because you're a partial owner of this show. You get to steer it into a particular direction that you like because you're a subscriber, or more importantly, if you are an Oiler/taxpayer. So do so, become a part of the team, and don't be embarrassed by developing world chatters like Dr. Slippy dropping that $5. Okay? Developing world chatters, same motivation to you, but in reverse. Make them feel ashamed. Make them feel ashamed. You're probably living in a hut, warming yourself on some firewood, eating dead rats, and yet you drop that $5. Thank you, Trick the Rogue. Trick the Rogue always pays their taxes. Another developing world chatter that always pays their taxes. Probably lives in a cave. Probably has been eating the same bear they hunted down for the last 7 weeks. And all the Westerners in chat, the Germans, the French people, the Austrians, the British. Yes, even the Spanish. Yes, the Americans and the Canadians, of course. Yes, you guys from New Zealand. You're sitting in your fucking, it's coder mansions, and you're not paying your part. It is unfortunate to see, I must say. Developing world chatters, I think this calls on us humiliating them further. There's no other choice. What if I'm in the underdeveloped of the developed world? That's an interesting question. Okay, Barry, what's up, baby? Found a button and it said YUGO. Thank you, dear Thor. Thank you very much for the 6 months,
Wonderful.
man.
A new child
Barry, what the hell?
Subscriber.
Barry, who is our biggest taxpayer, by the way, but who hasn't paid their taxes in a second, is woken up from their nap.
A new child soldier.
I think Barry now has like a week off, and said no. Westerners must be proven to be correct. Say hi to your girlfriend's boyfriend, Barry. Thank you.
Crazy hamburger! Crazy hamburger!
Thank you for the crazy amount of subs, dude. Seriously, look at me, Barry. Thank you, dude. As always, seriously, thank you. Yeah, you know I joke. Oh, he hasn't paid it. I'm throwing like friendly shade. Thank you very much, Barry. That is an absurd amount of gifts. Thank you. Everybody say thank you to Barry. Thank you. Thank you, Nanya. There you go. Another developing world chatter. Everybody except Barry from the West should feel very embarrassed. Then we got Lenny. Okay, Lenny dropping their first tax. Thank you very much, Lenny. I think you guys are motivated by the Wojak face. Sojak face that Richard is making over here. So thank you to Nunya, thank you to Barry, thank you to Lenny, thank you to Trick the Rogue, thank you to Dear Thor, and thank you to Dr. Sleepy Fist that started the whole thing. You guys are very lovely. The invitation to everyone else continues to stand, but we cannot grift forever. Let us continue. Love from Canada. Thank you very much for Canada, famous developing world country, but I appreciate you, my friend.
Wonderful. A new child soldier.
Thank you, Treud. Thank you for the 5 months, you fucking G. Wait, is there a, thank you very much. Richard Wolff Wojak. I know this one, but come on, there has to be Richard Wolff Wojak. Can somebody scour the internet and find me a Richard Wolff Wojak? I know there was like a Wojak archive or gallery. What was it? Wojak Land, yes. There used to be a much better website, but I think it went down. It was such a good Wojak gallery. It was so beautiful. Wojak database. No, this is not good. It's a very, very good, very pretty website back in the day that I used to use. Canada is definitely developing world with survival of dumpster food. I believe it. It remains cool in the dumpsters, right? Because it's very cold. So you can eat it for a very long time. Why hasn't anyone made a me Wojak yet? Why don't I have? Why is there no Yugopnik Wojak? I know that. No, actually, don't say. I know what you're gonna say. Yugopnik. When you write Yugopnik, the first thing that pops up is okay. Maybe not the first thing. Where's my old Wojak? Oh, my old Wojak. Oh my God, legendary. Literally me, bro. But can I have a Wojak with the mask? Can I have a Wojak with the mask? You know, I want a mask Wojak. Get on it, chat. Get on it, chat. If somebody makes me a Wojak that I like, okay, I will donate 10 gift subs this stream. Man, I've never Googled myself before. What is this? I'm a legendary photo. I got so sick that night. I think the cats gave me a disease or something. I'm literally Tony Soprano, блядь. I am Tono Sopranov. Oh yeah, this one was great. This one was great. When I posted my new when I paid for the new Twitter profile photo. So good. But anyways, get to work. Make me a Wojak. Make me a current edition Wojak. Try and put him in this shirt. Put him in this shirt. Fuck it. Why not?
Hurting me, and it's in your interest to let.
Who kidded that? Some homeless kitty. Or was it this Rich Albanian's birthday party? We were in some house or something, and then there was kitties, and I pet the kitty, and then I got sick for a long time.
To keep them from deserting
What's up, woman?
me, and it's in your interest to let me do that. Well, maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. Time will tell. He's crossing his fingers, but that's not all he did. Then he did that, macho move of grabbing the president of a sovereign country with whom there is no war and from whom there is not the slightest endangerment of the United States. This act, criticized virtually in every country on earth by the leaders in those countries, some who couldn't speak very freely, sadly, that's most of Europe, and those who could. But I see it as desperate. It's a desperate act so he can show I'm doing something. He can't land troops there. It would be a war for the next 10 years, just like Ukraine, only probably worse because the Europeans wouldn't participate. All alone, the United States would be occupying a country. The impact on Latin America beyond words in terms of the history we're living through. And then another one. He says, I'm going to pay for all of this since it's very expensive, what he's already done, and a limitless expense in quote unquote running Venezuela, which the president says he's going to do. How's that going to be paid for? His answer, oil. Exxon Corporation explains to the president publicly, you are a moron.
Yeah.
We're not going to invest in that country. It's an uninvestable, that's a quote, an uninvestable situation, which makes...
That was one of the most, that was a historic moment. The capitalist class, which has for so long bought politicians time and time again, invested in making the masses as gullible and stupid as possible, eventually see that blowing back in their face, because the masses have now become so gullible that they are electing presidents that are so stupid that those presidents, even though they want to serve large capital, they don't know how to. So they, by accident, start making greater and greater problems for large capital. Tell me that is not kinema. Tell me that is not cinema. So to repeat, capitalists invest in making people dumber. Dumb people elect dumb presidents. Dumb presidents who still know who their boss is, want to serve their boss, but because they're dumb, end up not being able to efficiently serve said capital. So capital turns around and is like, what?
President looked like the ham-fisted opportunist that he was and is. But that he does not like to be treated that way.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Sherdo. Like most oil execs said, dude, it wasn't necessarily the nationalization that fucked up our oil exchange with Venezuela. It was the goddamn sanctions. Sure, we lost a lot of money because of the nationalization, but we could still buy, and mostly like unprocessed oil from them, right? This is low-key shade on the Venezuelan government, right, from a socialist perspective, but still. We're like, okay, sure, we don't own it anymore, but we can still buy it for cheap and then resell it, especially the thick Venezuelan oil, right? For large machinery, blah, blah, blah. But then the sanctions hit, and they can't do that. And they're like, what the fuck? It's literally like 5 meters away from the States. You're telling me I can't buy this shit? What the fuck?
And so
you get my point, right? You get my point.
Immediately threatened Exxon that he won't let them participate in the oil business. He'll give it all to Chevron. A president who plays favorites in that all or nothing, make or break way is going to be making catastrophic enemies among the biggest and richest people in the United States. You've got to be desperate to do anything like that. I could go on, but I want to get this sense of...
I've said it 1,000 times. Smart American capitalists invest in the Democratic Party because, thank you for the blesses. Because they know how to do comprador politics far better than the Republicans.
Of a desperate effort to hold together.
You use the Republicans when shit hits the fan. But you want to postpone the shit hitting the fan as much as possible because objectively large capital does make more money in times when the fake vision of living in a democracy still persists. Except obviously for the military-industrial complex, but that's a story on its own because that's not a everyday consumable by the wider masses. So even if number go up on selling guns, it does not necessarily reciprocally affect the everyday consumer basket. So then it speeds up the contradiction. It's not always number go up that allows for the economy to survive. It depends on number go up in which segments of the economy. Blah blah blah. This is a theory stream, type of thing. I can talk about this for like 10 hours.
Together a coalition. Now we come to Minnesota. Well, what has the president done? He's created a new and special police force in the United States. It's not the Army or the Navy or the Air Force. It's not the state police. It's not even the National Guard. It's a unique police under the authority of the executive through NOMI because of the way the cabinet is set up. Okay, we've not seen that, as you rightly point out. This is a federal police under the jurisdiction of the executive. This is extraordinary. It means, for example, that he could not
necessarily even the executive under the jurisdiction of one particular party. That's why I call it a paramilitary force. And more importantly, that's the plan to an extent. If ICE exists as it has, but if it exists in its current form with this budget that is bigger than most countries' military budgets for 2-3 years, you end up with having hundreds of thousands of ideologically motivated, well-equipped, relatively quote-unquote experienced brown shirts that you then what? You're telling me the Democrats win in 3 years and they're going to be able to dismantle what at that point probably in time, unless something is done on time, right, is going to be like over 300,000 dedicated, well-paid, well-equipped, experienced fascists. What planet do you live on? You low-key gotta like the scale of the military operation that is going to be necessary to dismantle ICE, unless it's dismantled yesterday, is going to be, even for a military as massive as the American one, very, very difficult. Don't even get me started on how many chuds, everyday civilians, will openly support ICE continuing the way it is, maybe even joining its side. And that's the plan on the Republican side, right? That's the plan. Make it too big to fail. Make this paramilitary brown shirt movement too big to fail so that it cannot actually be rendered defunct, even by the most well-intentioned liberals.
Or chose not to, ask the army to do this work, which is what one would expect if you really believe that the crime wave, and there's no evidence for it, but if the crime wave is beyond the control of the local police, plus the National Guard under the authority of a governor, then you send in the army. Now, maybe he doesn't want the way that looks, a government using the army against its own people. He doesn't.
No, he's using every excuse under the sun in order to further develop said paramilitary force. That's the whole point.
Doesn't know what to do. So he's doubling down, which is typically what he has done. And he uses that stupid slogan. You know, it's interesting to use a slogan of the Nazis.
There's no such thing as too big to fail. I agree, my friend. Very well put. But there is such a thing as being perceived as being too big to fail. And if you are perceived too big to fail, then you are too big to fail.
Remind people, the Nazis lost. That great tactic, one of ours, all of yours, you know what that did? That mobilized the Czech people to mount a resistance that cost the Germans an enormity, as that kind of behavior did in France, in Denmark, and in all the other countries that the Nazis occupied before they were driven out. So if you want to make the parallel, then it's a choice that is doubly stupid. Why raise a banner of the losers? It is extraordinarily narrow-minded. But I agree with you, Brian. What's going on here is the logic of where Mr. Trump is taking the country.
Wonderful. A new child.
I have no idea
Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you very much.
what was in his mind when he decided to scapegoat immigrants. I do know that the crime rate among immigrants is lower than that among native-born Americans. I know that that's a phony excuse. I know as an economist that the immigrant problem has never been a basic problem of the American economy. It has been a political scapegoat of which we will become ashamed, rather like what we did to the Japanese in California in World War II, etc., etc. And therefore, I see this as a kind of horrible phenomena, a little bit like a loose train heading towards a stone wall, and we're all watching it, and we're screaming at the people on the train, get off, jump off, don't stay on a train that's going to do unspeakable damage but they are busy drinking and they don't hear us. A general strike would be a logical next step in this process. It is a little bit of a tit for tat. It was when the Nazis did this kind of thing in Europe. It helped build the resistance, which in the end destroyed their project from top to bottom and totally changed German society, even to this point. And you know, there is the talk of a general strike that was led by the head of the United Auto Workers Union in his proposal that all other unions make their contracts end on the last day of April of the year 2028, so that on May Day of 2028, everybo's on strike. It's a sort of an indirect way to organize a general strike. This would be more on the scope of it. But I think the reason to take it seriously is because of the effect it will have. And let me sketch that for people so they understand.
All shame of the acts of World War II have been forgotten. That is inevitable, right? Like reactionary movements repeat the same pattern. The scapegoat changes, but the same patterns of fascist thinking always replicate and replicate and replicate and replicate and replicate and replicate. Why do they replicate? Because of the contradictions of capitalism, right? Because of the inherent instabilities that it births. The only way to make sure that the counter-scientific, quasi-scientific, insane, falsified conclusions or reactionaries, the only way to make sure those conclusions do not see the light of day is to destroy and replace the source of said contradictions. In the case of the 21st century human, that is the capitalist contradiction, the systemic contradiction. You cannot educate your way out of eventual fascist uprising, because no matter how wise the population might be, when push comes to shove, when the system destabilizes, you will have people asking the question, why? And reactionaries will always be there to answer that question in a reactionary manner. In group versus out group is number one. Number two is solidify the hierarchy. And number three, of course, is good old barbarism.
The people who run this country, who run the business.
By good old barbarism, I mean the state no longer using lukewarm policy of ensuring capitalism survival. Like, oh, here you go. The Republicans and Democrats, you get to have your votes, right? But more physically aggressive. Very physically aggressive. What libs would call authoritarian measures being utilized.
Businesses who sit at the top of the pyramids of economic and political power, who know each other, who are often the same individuals as they move from a CEO of a huge...
So yeah, TLDR, you don't want fascism, you need to change the system. There is no way that we don't try a little bit of fascism, just as a treat, every 10 to 50 years, depending on the country and its scale of contradiction, without changing the source of the problem. Okay? Cancer is fascism. Smoking cigarettes is capitalism. If you don't want cancer happening, you need to stop smoking cigarettes.
Company to head of a governmental agency.
You need to take Zins, okay? Communism is nicotine pouches. Sponsored by Velo.
And then back again, etc., etc. The people who run this country have had a wait-and-see attitude. They like Mr. Trump. because of
And yes, unironically, after we instill a dictatorship of zins, there's going to be contradictions from consuming zins. Your mouth hurts, you get ass cancer, all the shit that comes with zins, right? And then we're going to work on that problem. We're not saying zins are perfect. We're not saying that a post-bourgeois socialist system is going to be perfect. The only thing we're saying is that the current bourgeois problem at this time needs to be solved. We'll solve the next one once we've solved this one. Your camera's flipped. You mean I'm in a completely different place?
etc., etc. The people who run this country have had a wait-and-see attitude. They like Mr. Trump because of his tax cuts. Please notice that the first
Sigurno sam negde blizu do tebe trenutno, Đokula. Nemoj da se zajebavaš sa mnom, mogu ti uđem u kuću. Živeli.
thing Mr. Trump did when he won the presidency at the beginning was a huge tax cut, the one in 2017. And the first thing he did in his second presidency was a huge tax cut passed last year. That's not an accident. That's not a coincidence. He's letting everybody know, you big donors who give me the money, I'm going to take care of you. Subsidies he's dishing out to high-tech companies, he's delivering. He's taking our tax money and giving it to them. Oh, yes, it's to compete with the Chinese and for national security. Of course it is.
We was taxpayers and she...
Now here comes the punchline.
Speaking of which, 1 hour, 30 minutes, reminder to everybody to pay their taxes, especially Westerners. Developing world chatters, you can pay your taxes as well to remind Westerners of just how little they are doing in contrast to how much they have. But if you do not have enough to pay taxes, of course, paying taxes by just simply subscribing for yourself or using your Prime is also beyond welcome. Thank you very much. Ali Buraz, ja baš volim pljuge, može neka saradnja, može dengizam, brate. Brate, malo dengizam za tebe. Može tržišna ekonomija tu i tamo. Tako da može cigare, ono. Ali ne možda kupuješ cigare, imaš ono... nedeljno ti se daju 2 pakle. Ako pušiš više od 2 pakle nedeljno, te hapsimo. Kontaš? To ti je kineski model. Pre si pušio koliko? 15 pakli nedeljno. Mi ti kažemo, ok, nema problema, može malo pljuga, ali 2 puta nedeljno. I onda ti naravno damo besplatne zinove za ostatak perioda.
Those people want the tax cut.
Može, imate moju podršku. Super, brate.
And they will support Mr. Trump as long as he delivers them. And there's no rising, dangerous, collateral cost to his...
And this, what's up, Lesbian Hot Sauce? Always very nice to see you. Everybody in chat, please give Lesbian Hot Sauce, fellow streamer, very good friend of the show, a follow. Seriously, please do. Please, please, please do. You will not be making a mistake. If you enjoy my show, you will enjoy Lesbian Hot Sauce's show. Mods, can we get a shout out? Let me read the post. At this moment in time, my normcore, normal Brit bonger matter are in the process of calling out American imperialism and talking about propaganda and manufacturing consent for the rich. Like normal humankind that get this inherently because of the conditions of a lot of workers right now. They cucked by capital also just might not have the technical way of explaining it that DM shows us to. It's a fucking wild time. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's also very, very like rich people bad is a great way to introduce people to socialism. But especially if you don't just do rich people bad, but rich people bad because they are... the more power you give rich people, you don't even have to use capitalists. When you're in a socialist setting, you definitely need to use capitalists. But yeah, rich people bad, not just because rich people bad, but rich people bad because they are working against your particular interests. You must protect your interests against rich people's interests. This is a great way to introduce normies, like an absurdly great way. It is extremely limiting, and it is un-Marxian, but it is great propaganda.
Doing that. What do I mean by cost? I mean the resistance of people to ICE, the blaming, the fact that over the last 6 months, ICE, which was looked upon as the muscle needed to enforce deportation, now is a threat to everybody who disagrees with the policy, and the country
Who could have seen that coming? Oh my fucking God.
has reacted.
Insane. Who can see ICE in 5 to 6 years being deployed to arrest people who ideologically disagree with the American status quo? We're all going to be so surprised as well. Ooh. ICE deporting. I can already see what they're going to, you know how they're going to pitch it? People who are ideologically immigrants. People who are ideologically immigrants. What do you mean, sir? They are radical in their politics, the way a true American could never be. They are ideologically violent, illegal immigrants. It's going to work for the chuds. They're going to nom that shit.
And ICE now looks like an ugly occupation force, which is how it is being increasingly viewed. And it has only itself to blame, given what it's doing.
60 subs until Gamba. Reminder, chat. Reminder. If you sub your way into Gamba, it counts as Gamba. This does not apply to chatters that do not have $6 or $4 plus subscriptions. Please, you will bankrupt me.
Okay. At this point, the people at the top have to reckon with a cost. Because, and here I say this not as a warning, but as an analysis.
Subscriber.
If you have
Thank you, Fern, for your taxes, my friend. Always, Fern, always coming in with the taxes. Thank you very much.
as a cost, because, and here I say this not as a warning, but as an analysis. If you have a general strike or anything like it that changes the government, that's a pendulum that's going to swing very far the other way. And the people who will displace ICE will be looking to square some debts, to offset a pendulum that went way too far to the right. It's now going to go to the left. Leading me to conclude, beware.
Bro, Richard Wolff up in here being like, you think ICE is problematic? You think ICE is violent? Let them be more violent. You want to see what Yagoda and NKVD, but American version can do, motherfucker? Richard Wolff literally be like, fuck around and find out, You want to do ICE? Okay, put people in unmarked vans alive. Leftists are going to be putting people in unmarked vans. Okay, no, I can't say any of this shit. Well, Wolff really displaying some hardcore Bolshevism here. Richard Wolff, full Bolshevik moment. Full Bolshevik moment right now. Fucking... Oh, God. Do not be surprised when the leather coats start marching towards your home. Thank you, Cat Girl, for the gifty as well.
You people, because what's unfolding threatens you in a way you have not been threatened for a...
I may be naive, but I'm pretty sure people here wouldn't tolerate this. Although our pigs are not armed like soldiers. Finks. My friend, I don't know how to tell you this, but they already are. There's a paramilitary running around your country, kidnapping people and shooting whoever they want. And like 30 to 40% of your population supports it. Another 20% is silent about it, / neutral. And only like 5% of your population, I think that's an overestimation, are actually out on the streets protesting it. Sorry, bro. Like the dark times aren't coming. They're here, bro. They can get a lot darker, don't get me wrong, but they're here. and they're getting tolerated by a lot of people. A lot of people are supporting them. A lot of people are joining these brown shirt paramilitary units.
100 years.
This is Democracy Now!
Oh, jump scare.